Hey guys, this is the third video in my set of videos for the list of female Asperger's traits on helpforaspergers.com. The third section is emotional and physical. So the first thing on the list is emotionally immature and emotionally sensitive. I think this is very true, especially this being emotionally sensitive. When I was at Bible college, I had someone say that I felt things to a degree that most people didn't. I remember that I had applied for the second year position to be an RA, and I didn't get it, and it like devastated me. I cried quite hard when I found out, and then it took quite a few days, and I would intermittently cry sometimes during those as well about it. And so yeah, definitely emotionally sensitive when something like that happens. Excuse me. Emotionally immature. I think this is probably true, but I'm not entirely sure what that means, what that would mean exactly. I guess not as much control over your emotions, maybe. I don't know, but I would say probably yes. Anxiety and fear are predominant emotions. Definitely yes. Fear's always been a really big thing that I struggled with for quite a long time. And anxiety always been. Both of those worsened in my teen years and up until now. So, the fear is still there, but with some things, I try not to let it control me. I just do it. So, I'm more open to talking about feelings and emotional issues than males with AS. This is, I don't know very many. I only know my cousin, and I don't see him that often enough to say, yes or no. But I would assume that it's true. I don't really. Emotions are kind of foreign to me. They're just difficult for me to deal with and understand. It's often, especially if I'm having strong ones or heading towards meltdown, and someone asks me well, what are you feeling? Half the time the answer is I don't know, and that's not hyperbole. It's I actually don't know what I'm feeling. I can't figure it out. I know it's there. I know I'm feeling things, but I could not tell you what I'm feeling a lot of the times. And when I'm not in a sensitive emotional state or meltdown, I don't I don't feel like I feel emotions. It's just sort of tired is my general resting state, is just tired. But I don't often feel like I feel anything. It's just sort of cruising along on logic. Just sort of there a lot of the times. And one of the first articles I read talked about that, where it's we don't, someone with Asperger's might not realize that they're building up emotions. It's that a cup at a water park that will slowly fill up with water, right? And then when it hits the top, it tips over. Except that with Asperger's, you don't know that you're filling up until it's too late, and then you. And so this is the emotional stimuli. So yeah, I don't really. Sometimes I don't notice it. I notice it now more now that I'm aware of it. And this was even before I started researching Asperger's. Before a friend mentioned that I might have it. I had actually, her and I, in conversations, I actually found out that if I hold in little things, little problems or whatever, that the emotions will build up and I won't even realize it until I'm really, really close to meltdown or melting down. And then at the meltdown point, it's too late, because all my logic just flies out the window, and I pretty much just have to kind of ride the emotional roller coaster, cry it out, and then go to sleep. And then I'm usually, if I'm able to, especially if I'm able to talk about it to somebody who's actually willing to listen and try to understand what I'm saying and reassure me that even though I'm they're still gonna stick around and they still love me, then usually then the next day I'm okay. Like I'm my process, like I can be logical and rational about things again. But yeah, in the middle of a meltdown I can't, and in the middle of a shutdown I tend to, it's stubbornness sets in then sometimes, especially if the shutdown is occurring because of something that's happened that's made me angry or hurt. Then it's like I'll just be kind of stubbornly, pardon my French, but bitchy sometimes. It's just like, no, I'm not gonna tell you because you did this or whatever. Like, it's just, you know, and that's like, I'm just trying to close myself off, I guess. So, yeah, that was, yeah. So, I don't know. I guess I am, but I don't always know I am more willing to talk about feelings and emotions, but I don't always know what's going on. Like, I really don't understand what's going on inside of me a lot of the times until it's too late, until it's really obvious, like a big expression, rather than like all the minute little emotions. Like, I don't really recognize those in myself. I just kind of think like they're not there, I guess, until I'm super happy or super mad or super sad or depressed or whatever. It's like it has to be an extreme emotion for me to be able to recognize it in myself. Not so much in others, which is really odd. I can pick up emotions from other people really well, but sometimes I don't understand why they feel that way. So it's like if somebody's angry at me, sometimes I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I didn't think I said anything that was worthy of that response. So while I can recognize feelings, I don't understand why people would feel that way sometimes. And it's very difficult for me to do that. Strong sensory issues: sound, sight, smell, touch, and prone to overload. Less likely to have taste/food texture issues as males. Yeah, I don't have any taste issues as far as I'm aware, sensory-wise. Texture, I don't really like the texture of mashed potatoes, and it kind of grosses me out, but I eat them anyway. I honestly don't know. I just do. It's just, I don't know if it's because it's expected or I think it's good for me. Nutrition-wise, not good for me to push those sensory limits, but so that one I don't actually know if it's a sensory issue or just a personal dislike of mashed potatoes. If they're chunky, I can eat them though. Like I can eat them then. It's just that they're fully mushed. Sometimes I can't. Makes me gag. Sounds, this is true. I hear things that other people don't. High-pitched noises and things like that a lot of people I know just do not pick them up at all. Or sometimes I can pick out sounds that in an area where there are other sounds, and I'll be like, oh, did you hear that? And people will be like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't hear anything. It's like, you're serious? So the Asperger's actually makes a lot of sense to me that way finally, because it's like a lot of people, it was like they weren't seeing or hearing or smelling things, and I don't know, I guess I thought I was always just like had a good sense of smell, but if it is the Asperger's, which I think it is, then that's like, you know, the way your brain processes things and whatnot, it's more heightened, I guess. So at work, they if somebody suspects like somebody was smoking in a non-smoking room or there's maybe a funny smell but they're not sure, like they'll always come and get me and be like, Veronica, you have the best sense of smell, like go smell this and see if that's there. So I'm always recruited for that job, which is, I guess, good. But yeah. Sights, I don't actually know. It's only been like, what's today, Monday? Almost 2 weeks since my friend mentioned that I might have Asperger's, and I've been doing research. So I haven't had a lot of time to really kind of observe what like causes sensory issues for me. I do have problems with like sleeping because of that. Like if there's certain, I've gotten a little bit better with light, but I tend to kind of like, I sleep on my side and then I tend to like pull my covers up like over half this eye, and then I have a security blanket that I will like then cover my other eye with, and that's usually how I sleep if there's too much light in my room, and I cannot sleep when there's weird noises. I sleep with a white noise fan because of that. If it's I actually like sleeping in total silence, like it's so nice, but actually being in a place where you can sleep where there's total silence is like super rare. So, and there's a willow tree off my bedroom, and so if the wind blows at all, like it scrapes against the roof of the deck, and that'll wake me up even with the white noise fan sometimes, and I'll wake up to if the deer are coming through the yard, and or the raccoons, like that'll wake me up in the middle of the night. My cat doesn't have to meow very loud when she wants in for me to wake me up in the middle of the night to let her in or out. Touch, it really depends. If I don't know you, don't touch me, pretty much. But I'm really almost overly touchy. Like I love hugs and I like cuddling and stuff like that. Even just platonically, I like being close to people that I love, which is, it can be an issue, especially in like Christian circles, because that's usually, I think that's more portrayed as a sign of like romantic interest, and it's like, no, I just like being close to everybody that I like. So if I like you and I stand too close, that probably actually means that I'm comfortable with you. So when one of my online best friends visited me for 3 weeks, it was like we were joined at the hip, and we sat on the couch. Like I would always be like pressed right up against her, stuff like that. Same with my best friend from Bible college. It was like I had an arm over her shoulder and hers around my waist, and I mean, we just were super close, and I like that a lot. But when I don't want to be touched, if I'm like getting aggravated because of overload and I don't want to be touched, then that can become a big issue. And if I don't know you and you touch me, or if you come up behind me and touch me, if I don't know you're there, that really that kind of sets me off like crazy sometimes. The overload has always been an issue. I talked to my mom, and the overstimulation it's been something that I've dealt with since I was really little. She said there would be, like, we'd go out to the fair, and I would be energized by all of the cat hair floating through the house. So like we go out to the fair, and there's all the sights and sounds and smells and flashing lights and moving things, and she said it would energize me up to a point, and then it would get to a point and I would have a meltdown and I would become overstimulated, and she knew that, so she knew that I've had these, okay, cat hair, I think I need to vacuum. So she's known since I was little that I've had these issues with overstimulation, of being in environments that are too noisy or too crazy. She told me one time that one of the first homeschool conventions that we had here, I sat with her with the adults rather than, I'm not sure how old I was. I'm pretty sure this was before I had been in school, unless it was after. I was not in public school, obviously. Well, if it was a homeschool convention, then it would have been later. So I probably was like 7 or 8 maybe. I don't know. My mom can correct me, but I wasn't very old. Because I know the second one we went to, I was a little bit. I was 10 or 11. Because I remember that one, but I don't remember the other one. And she said that I sat in with her rather than, they had a kids' activity area, and I just couldn't handle it. There was too much noise, too much activity, too much movement. It was too much. I was perfectly fine sitting in with the adults where it was quiet. And yeah, I'm still that way. So certain things will get me energized up to a point, and then it's like once I hit the point of this is too much, like I can get really cranky, really agitated, and then it's like if it keeps going for too long, I'll hit a point where I'll just, like, a small little thing can make me just cry. So I have to be careful to watch for that. I haven't been in too many situations that have got me to that point lately. Going to the fair would be the only one, and I was already in a meltdown mode the day that my family was from miscommunication issues with a friend and some other emotional issues. So I was already completely melted down from that overstimulation the day that my family was going to go out to the fair, so I didn't go with them. And last year I didn't go because I didn't want to spend the money. So, moody and prone to bouts of depression, this is very true. Particularly, after like becoming a teenager, like later teen years, 16 and on, have always kind of been an issue. May have been diagnosed as bipolar or manic depressive, common comorbids of autism and Asperger syndrome. While the Asperger syndrome diagnosis was missed, I did not, because we went to a homeopathic doctor. But I guess she did sort of diagnose me as having depression when I was, I think it was 19, sorry, I was thinking 17 for something else, but I think it was 19 when we did that, and I did some stuff with homeopathic remedies to try to help that. So, yeah, but I don't, I've never went to a therapist once, earlier this year, for what I knew was depression for sure, and possible PTSD. But, yeah, the Asperger syndrome would not have been diagnosed, and when I started getting better, I just quit. So, probably given several prescriptions to treat symptoms, will be very sensitive to medications and anything else she puts in her body, so may have had adverse reactions. I've never been on medications for any kind of mental, depression or anything like that. But yeah, anytime I've had to take medications for other things, like when I got my wisdom teeth out, they had some kind of a codeine for painkiller, and then I had antibiotics, and I would take half of the dose or less of the painkiller, and it would wouldn't even just dull the pain, it would knock me out. I would get so tired that I would just be out. I'm very sensitive to things. I can't have caffeine really after 4 p.m. or I'm up for the rest. I'm just I have trouble sleeping. I can't have a lot of sugar after dinner, or I can't sleep. I'm really sensitive to alcohol. One drink and I'm a little bit fuzzy. It's not too bad, but it's just enough that I don't usually have more than one drink at a time. Caffeine, sugar, medication. Yeah, the only thing is over-the-counter painkillers sometimes don't do anything. So aspirin, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, a lot of those don't even, if I have a headache or menstrual cramps, it's just it doesn't even touch them, so, which is really odd. But a lot of other medications that I've had to take for whatever reason, the painkillers and antibiotics, I'm super sensitive to antibiotics. They make me nauseous like crazy, and it's just not, I don't like taking them. It's not fun. So yeah, caffeine I'm especially sensitive to. So 9 of 10 have mild to severe gastrointestinal difficulties. I don't actually, for example, ulcers, acid reflux, irritable bowel syndrome, etc. I don't actually have any of those. I do have problems when I'm extremely stressed where my stomach will literally churn. It almost feels like it's bubbling. So I do have problems with that. But as far as I know, I don't really have a lot of other gastrointestinal problems. Although I guess if I'm in an environment that's unfamiliar, my stomach makes weird noises, kind of digestion noises, but super loud, and it's weird. I hit the end record button, the stop recording, instead of moving my mouse down. So yeah, I don't know that I have any a lot of gastrointestinal difficulties. That was difficult to say. Next, stims to soothe when sad or agitated, rocking, face rubbing, humming, finger flicking, leg bouncing, finger foot tapping, etc. So I was not aware of a lot of what I was doing when I was little, so I don't know how much of this I did. I do know I sang and hummed a lot when I was younger, when we were doing things, if I could, like, face rubbing sometimes, tucking my hair was, like, constant. For a while I played with my hair. Leg bouncing, I think, has always kind of been a thing, and my dad does it, so I just kind of, like, I guess I thought it was, I don't know, not inherited necessarily, but learned behavior. So I don't know. Foot tapping also. I tend to do, like, this kind of a thing, and lately I've got a callus on my hand right here, and sometimes, like, the skin on my ring, it's kind of peeling off, and so I kind of, like, push and rub at it and pick at it when I'm talking to somebody or nervous or something like that. So I do tend to do that, and I have a tendency when I'm wearing long sleeves to push the sleeves up and then pull them back down and push them up and pull, like, over and over and over again. And the chapstick thing where I'm always reapplying chapstick. I like petting things. When I was in school, and after my birthday, my brother-in-law gave me a rabbit skin that he had done, and I would use that, like, while I was doing school. Like, I would just pet it, just sit and pet it while I was reading or whatever, because it helped me focus and concentrate. The hand flapping I will do when I'm starting to hit overstimulation. It's like a certain type of overstimulation. When I was doing role playing, if there were too many replies coming back, because I did it on Tumblr, so if anybody knows how that goes, it's like you have a dashboard of all the people, of all the blogs. It's not like regular blogs like you would think of, but so they're on the screen, and then new replies will pop up, new posts will pop up, and so we would, reply to somebody's. And if there were too many people online, not even just when they were replying to me, but if they were replying to other people's threads, and so there would be lots of, like, new replies for everybody's different threads and stuff, and I was also responding to, like, a lot of them, and it'd be like I could handle that for, like, maybe a half an hour, and at the time I was also in a group chat with, like, 3 other people on Skype with the notifications on, which I found out was actually a really bad thing. Just set me over the edge. So when that would happen, then I'd just have to, like, be in the Skype chat and be like, sorry guys, I need to walk away. And I would just, like, literally go sit on my kitchen floor and just, like, stare into space. And sometimes I would, like, pace back and forth, and I would, like, do this. Like, I would shake and kind of, like, flap my hands, because it helped me kind of, like, calm down, I guess. So this is definitely a stimming behavior, but and I've always done this, get this, I have my jackets actually right here, so I have always done this, as far as I can tell, is that I'll take, these are terribly disgusting sleeves, and I'll chew and kind of pull, like, I do this when I'm nervous or stressed, like, I noticed that I do that, and you can tell, these sleeves are, like, I don't know if you can see, but they're, like, kind of disgusting. This is an old jacket, but yeah, cause I'll rub and play with it a lot. I've always had a security blanket, and I like just like rubbing on it and stuff. And I have a stuffed cat from when I was little that is, like, all worn and gross on top from, like, petting. So I think I have actually always stimmed. I just never really realized it until I understood what it was. And I've recently realized that, like, during meltdowns and stuff, like, rocking is, like, really soothing. It helps me calm down a lot, so I don't know if I do that. If I do other stimming behavior, it's stuff I haven't recognized yet or realized that I do it. But yeah, I fidget a lot when I'm alone, but I think I've learned to suppress a lot of stimming behavior in public. Like, sometimes I'll want to, but I'll be like, super, keep your hands, like, on the table or in your lap and, like, don't move. And it's, like, just, because that's weird and people don't do that. But, like, I tend to fidget when I'm alone a lot, or, like, right now, in front of a camera, because I'm nervous. So, yeah. Similarly physical when happy, hand flapping, clapping, singing, jumping, running around, dancing, bouncing. Yes. These are things that, like, I tend now to only do if I'm comfortable, if I'm in a place where I'm comfortable or with people that I'm comfortable with. And same when I was a teenager. I recall doing a lot of that kind of stuff when I was little, but as a teenager, sometimes there were times, if I was comfortable, where I was overly exuberant, and you could tell that people, like, I could tell that people thought it was more of a small child's reaction than one that you would get out of a normal teenager. Even now, the clapping is like, and bouncing, if I'm really happy, which this last year's been kind of rough, so that's not something that I do very often right now, because finding that kind of exuberant happiness has been kind of difficult lately. So, but singing, definitely, when I'm happy, I sing all the time. Prone to temper or crying meltdowns, even in public, sometimes over seemingly small things due to sensory or emotional overload. This is, definitely. I have, I can have a really bad temper. It's not like I don't know. It's just sometimes I get, like, if I have a meltdown, sometimes it involves anger and that physical, like, I like to be able to get rid of it physically. If I just hold the anger in, like, I kind of I'll start getting, like, twitchy and shivery almost. If I'm, like, really angry and I have to hold it in, it's like I'll start, like, doing, like, ticking almost. And, like, the urge to throw things always is bad. I've done that when I was younger. I did that a few times, not when I was alone. Like, I didn't, because of home situation, couldn't really express feelings a lot of the times, especially if they didn't line up to whatever my dad was feeling. So it was kind of like, I had to suppress a lot. I've tried to find ways to let it out now. I have unhealthily punched my fridge and the wall each once in the last year. I don't recommend it because the pain in your hand is, like, days afterwards. It's not fun to deal with. But punching pillows is something that helps me. Just the physical movement of releasing it. And sometimes I do that when I'm frustrated too, just like, So, crying meltdowns happen far more often than the temper thing. I tend to cry. When I'm overstimulated, tears are not far behind. And public, I hate that, which I think I've actually learned, especially in the last, probably I'd say 10 years, and particularly the last, like, 3 years, is how to go into a shutdown instead of a meltdown in public, because the crying in public is just, you get weird looks and you embarrass the people that you're with or whatever. So I tend to go into shutdown, which actually going into a shutdown is almost worse, because then when you get to a place that you feel safe enough to have the meltdown then ends up being worse, because you're holding this meltdown in, and, like, that you have all this overstimulation, so you have all this stuff that is, like, setting you off, so that, like, setting me off, like, it's too much, and then you have the meltdown, right? So, like, then you want to cry. But if you're in a place, like, if I'm in a place that I don't feel like I go into shutdown, and so I just, all this stuff that is already built up, like, then I push it in, and it builds up even more pressure, And so then when I do actually finally have that meltdown, it's pretty bad. Like, a lot of the times it's to the point where I can't even talk. This, which is pretty normal with a regular meltdown, but with one of those intensive ones, it's like just crying. Like, someone's trying to get a response and it's like, I can't even respond. All I can do is cry. It's which sucks. It's horrible. I don't like that. I don't like being out of control of my faculties like that, where it frustrates me to not be able to, when I'm unable to express myself. Not quite as much, but almost as much as when I'm trying to express myself and someone is misunderstanding me. That just drives me crazy. I get super frustrated. But when I'm at a meltdown point and I get mutism, I guess, it's really frustrating. Don't ever ask me what I'm feeling in those, because that actually just makes it worse, because sometimes I don't know why I'm melting down. I know now that it's probably the overstimulation rather than actual feeling sad necessarily. I mean, obviously sometimes the meltdowns happen if there's too much sadness or whatever, too many emotions. But in general, when I have a meltdown, it's like, I hate it when people ask me what I'm feeling. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I just need to cry. Like, which is so weird. But I have had those in public before, which sucks. And it is sometimes over seemingly small things. People will be like, why did that set you off? And it's like, well, because there was all this other stuff before that was like, people don't get that sometimes. I have the problem with if I'm in a weird place and can't sleep. And so then you're like up all night hearing things, and I don't mean that in like hearing imaginary things, but like hearing everything around you in your environment, and then being tired on top of that. And if you're in a new environment, and then it'll be like one little thing will set me off. Emotional overload is something that I get a lot too. So. Hates injustice and hates to be misunderstood. This can incite anger and rage. Kind of talked about that a minute ago, but I do hate injustice is something that it bothers me a lot, and I don't, it bothers me when other people can't see it too. Like, I know that a lot of talk earlier about like what happened in Ferguson and like the Trayvon Martin shooting, like all these shootings that have happened with cops shooting black guys or black kids. And it's just, I get really frustrated when people don't see that as an injustice, not just as racism, but just, it's like, you know, what happened with Ferguson, even if the kid had robbed the store, that I don't think that he didn't deserve to die. He still didn't deserve to die, I don't think. So, and so stuff like that, just, I don't like that. I don't like injustice. And I don't think our justice system works very well as it is. So that also just makes me kind of angry. Yeah, can incite anger and rage, especially if other people don't see it. Like, when people claim that racism isn't a thing anymore, and it's like, are you serious? So, and hates to be misunderstood. This is actually a really big issue for me right now. It always has been, but it's just been exacerbated lately. So, I feel like I'm often misunderstood, and I have yet to figure out if it's because I'm not communicating in a way that other people understand, or if it's because or because they are not understanding or not listening. Like, a lot of the times when I talk to somebody, it often feels like they're not actually listening to me. That's what it feels like. Like I'm saying all these words that should make sense, and then the other person answers in a way that seems like it's related, but it doesn't seem like they heard, like they listened to or understood what I was saying. I have this problem all the time, especially when I'm talking about like issues that I have or whatever, not or like fact-based things or objective information is a lot easier to talk about and not be misunderstood. I'm trying to talk about like things that's going on in my life or whatever, whether it's for advice or whatever reason. I just often get it. It feels like I'm misunderstood. And the same for, like the overstimulation and stuff with people not getting it and not, wanting me to go do stuff. And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, it'll be, I don't know. I realized it was too much, but before I didn't know, and now I kind of understand that it's that too much information. And I guess I always thought that everybody saw, like, noticed things the way I did. Like, I don't know, just, seeing every little light and every little detail of stuff, and hearing like every voice in the crowd. Like if you're in a group of people, like being able to hear everybody individually, and so it all gets it doesn't sound like background noise, which I guess is what neurotypicals people, NTs, like what they usually experience is it kind of like fades to the background and they can kind of ignore it. It's just like, blah, blah, blah. But it's not like that for me. It's like I hear everybody's individual voice, and it takes like a lot of concentration to talk to one person when there's a lot of noise like that going on. And I guess for a long time I thought that everybody had those issues, but it turns out they don't. I didn't realize that until recently, that other people can ignore things and I can't. It's just like it's all right there. That's why I think I like nature, because it's detailed and there's a lot to look at and a lot of information to process, but it's not flashy and it's not loud and there's not lots of movement usually, or if there is, it's very, like, water is just very steady. So that was kind of a sensory thing, but I hate being misunderstood, and it's one of the reasons I've kind of avoided a lot of social interaction lately, is because a lot of personal social interaction. I was earlier this year talking to people online a lot, and that was so much easier because writing it's so much easier for me to communicate that way, and actually because I have time, I guess, to say to be able to figure out the words so that people will understand me. But when I'm talking, I don't know, it's harder to explain myself to other people, and sometimes it doesn't feel like I'll end up pausing a lot, sometimes for long periods, and sometimes it doesn't feel like people are, like, they don't want to wait for me to, and I don't know if that's true or if it's just my own, like, if I'm just, I don't know, just picking that up, or just put it, if I'm, what do you call that, when projecting, if I'm projecting that kind of a feeling that maybe they don't want to wait for me to get my thoughts together. So I don't know, I just don't like being misunderstood, and that's one of the reasons I don't really kind of open up to a lot of people outside of my family and super close friends. Why I'm so quiet, why I'm so reserved, is because it's like I know that if I try to open up, it just feels like I'm constantly misunderstood, so I don't. It's just easier if you, which kind of sucks, and it's pretty lonely, but I don't know, it's easier than constantly having people think you don't mean what you're saying, which apparently that's a big thing too, but which I guess I understood intellectually, but now I'm getting off topic. So the last one in this column for emotions is prone to mutism when stressed or upset, especially after a meltdown. Less likely to stutter than male counterparts, but may have raspy voice, monotone at times, when stressed or sad. Get a drink. I kind of already talked about this with meltdowns, that I can't talk after or during a meltdown. So yeah, prone to mutism when stressed or upset, definitely. And after a meltdown. I don't stutter as far as I know. I've never had problems with that or issues with that, but yeah, the raspy voice, kind of feel like I'm getting a raspy voice right now, but that might be a lack of water and talking too much. Feel like sometimes I'm monotone, but I don't know. My mom says I'm not, but I don't know. You guys should tell me, in these videos. I feel like I'm talking in a fairly monotone way, but it's, yeah. I'm stressed or sad. I don't know. I think so. So, yeah. Definitely prone to mutism when stressed or upset. That actually explains a lot why I am more quiet in unfamiliar settings. Is that I just, it stresses me for those views. A youth pastor I had used to say that, like, oh, those Nelson girls, they're so quiet until you get to know them, and then they're not. I think that's pretty true, whereas, like, have this almost mutism where I don't want to talk or don't know if I'm in a new environment. But then once I'm there for a while, especially if it's the same people, too, like in a youth group, if you have a consistent youth group that doesn't have a lot of, like, variation between it, teens coming in and out of the group, and then you're at the same place every week and with the same people every week, like, eventually, like, that mutism goes away, and I actually kind of open up more. But the first few times, it doesn't take quite as long now as it did when I was younger. I think I learned to adapt a little better, but yeah. So, thanks for watching and listening. I don't know if any of this helped at all with anybody, but yeah. Thanks, guys. Bye.